Let's go! It's -7 outside. We are wearing 3 sweaters, a jacket and a jeans pant. I've kept some caps and earplugs. Funny. Are you ready? Wow! As soon as we come out, this cold air goes into the nose and it starts to hurt.
It takes a few seconds to acclimatize. And then, of course, now that the sun is out, it feels a lot less uncomfortable than if it was just cloudy. We really now start to understand why people up here really like the sun. Anyway, it's 11th of January. We are here in Berlin. And today is our first day exploring the city. We're somewhere in the southern part of eastern Berlin. And now we have to take a metro up into the city.
S41 nach Westend.
We just got 2 day passes for Berlin city. With this pass, we can go on the metro, the buses, anywhere in Berlin for the next 24 hours. They have mentioned the time here, 10:16. So till tomorrow morning, 10:16, we are good. Oh, it just punches a hole. This one?
And now on the metro. This is called the U-Bahn on the underground.
Sweet. When I put it in the machine, it just didn't punch a hole. It even gave the time and date and the station name. That's so cool. It's like a stamp.
It's a validation.
I think we should keep this as a souvenir.
Okay. It's a very expensive ticket that we've got anyway.
Now we need to change to another train.
Ich jetzt hier.
We have now made it into Berlin city center. And just outside this place is our first building to admire for the day. It's called the Reichstag.
Today Navneet has done a lot of planning. He's planned the route through Berlin city to optimize it so that I can walk as less as possible. And we also got the day pass, so we can hop on the bus whenever we want.
Yeah. Speaking of walk less, there's an escalator right here. You don't have to walk up the stairs behind.
Whoa, it's taking me into the refrigerator. And the snow! Oh my god. We have made it to Reichstag. This is where the parliament meets today in Germany. And this was built in the 1800s. However, the glass dome you see behind, it's pretty new. And I think it represents the democracy and transparency. This is what
Shish has learned everything about this building and she is going on a little roll there. But this one is like our first stop in Berlin.
Yeah.
And we chose this because it's like the northernmost point on a walking trail and we can walk straight down south, hitting a few other points along the way. I think you need to get a ticket to go in there and go to the top. And in classic Nav and Shish fashion, we're just going to admire it from the outside.
What I'm more amused about is I just washed my hair today, and because of the cold, the tips of my hair have become so hard.
They're frozen.
It's frozen.
Yeah, it's so funny. Be careful not to crack your hair.
I'll get a free haircut that way.
Oh, quick correction. You don't have to pay to go in there or to the very top.
It's free to go to the top.
But you have to reserve in advance because the slots right now are completely booked.
At least 3 weeks in advance, they said.
So this behind us is the Brandenburger Tor, or the Brandenburg Gate. It's also from the 1800s, kind of like the Arc de Triomphe that we saw in Paris. It's a pretty big gate that separates two sides of the city. Apparently during the Cold War time, it separated East and West Berlin.
And I like the horses on top.
And there's also a protests of some kind going on there, demonstration. But this entire circle looks so beautiful because there are so many old buildings and embassies all around. So you see flags of all these countries everywhere.
My fingers have gone numb. Want some hot coffee? Nice.
We're now walking amongst 2,700 of these concrete blocks. It's actually a memorial for all the Jews who lost their lives during the Holocaust. So if you don't know about the Holocaust, during World War II or leading up to it, during Nazi Germany's rule here in this part of the world, a lot of Jews were killed. Basically, it was a genocide. They were being eliminated by Adolf Hitler, who you probably heard about. During the Holocaust, a lot of Jews lost their lives. And this is meant to commemorate all those lives that were lost. This isn't a concentration camp. This is a memorial for all of those people who lost their lives. So we're right now standing in front of the Berlin Wall. This is one of the smaller fragments of the wall that's just at the very center of the city. We're in Potsdamer Platz. And we just learned about the crazy history of this place.
So this Berlin Wall divided East Germany and West Germany.
The land was split between the two winning sides, which was the USSR or the Soviet Union. And on the other side, it was the New West, which was UK, France, and USA.
Yes.
Both sides of Germany were therefore then controlled in very different ways.
The east part of it was controlled by the USSR, that means it was under the communist rule, and the west part of Germany is controlled under the capitalist rule. That means the people were more free, they were liberal, they could do whatever they want. So naturally, people in East Germany wanted to move to the West Germany.
Yeah, and things started to get complicated also because families were split across the two sides, and because of two different kinds of governance during the Cold War era, people began to see a form of separation that began to grow between the two, and even those who lived on both sides, like two families, couldn't actually come together to meet. And this wall was just on one side. An identical one was built on the other side with a central corridor in between where the guards would actually go up and down, not letting people cross. And it was even given a very gory nickname. I don't remember it, but basically, if you went there without a visa to cross from one side to the other, they could just shoot you to death.
Okay, there were guards standing by this wall at all times, and only diplomats or important officials were allowed to cross. The East Germans were never allowed to cross to this side. And in one of the speeches by one of the officials, by mistake, he said that the travel policy was changed with immediate effect. He was not supposed to say immediate. So people took this as an opportunity in East Germany and began to go towards the West Germany. And the guards did not stop them from crossing.
Yeah. Eventually, this led to the fall of the Berlin Wall. So the wall actually didn't collapse, but the rush of people from one side to the other just led to finally the Berlin Wall coming down.
Yeah.
And that's how the country was then reunited. This is also about the same time Cold War ended, the Soviet Union fell apart, a lot of countries got broken into smaller ones. And that's how the Europe as we know today actually came into being. So this is a quick little lesson of what we learned about the place while reading up here. So this is Potsdamer Platz. After the Berlin Wall fell apart and the country was reunited into Germany as we know today, the German government actually invited a lot of companies and come and build big offices around here. So all of these glass buildings, they're quite new, they're very modern, and they actually look pretty stunning. So that's why Potsdamer Platz is like a very big icon of Berlin city. So for the last couple of hours, we've been inside this place. This is called the Topography of Terror Museum, which is where we learned a lot about how the Nazi rule came into being and how people from the Gestapo, the police service, the secret service, all of them worked together in pretty much this area, which they called as Wilhelmstrasse. So this entire area used to be their stronghold as they began to oppress people from the early 1930s. And eventually by the 1940s, they had got significant control. And what they did with the Polish, with the Soviets, with the Eastern Europeans, like the Gypsies from Romania, and they were called the Roma and the Sinti, and many other communities who were basically not German, not Aryan, and of course the Jews. So all of these people were persecuted under the Nazi rule, and this entire museum is, it's hard to say, hard to give it a word really, because there are so many emotions in there, but we got to learn a lot about that history. It also just happens to be in front of this wall. This is another section of the Berlin Wall. This section of the wall seems to be preserved very well compared to other sections that we saw further in the city. There's lesser graffiti on this and definitely far lesser chewing gum.
Also, while walking through the city, you can see here and there they have like combined 4 to 5 pieces of walls together and then made little sections of it all around. And some of them have really colorful graffitis.
Another thing which we've just discovered is that in Eastern Germany at that time, there was one particular car which was extremely popular. It was the Trabant. I always thought the Trabant was more popular in Italy and those parts, but it's actually the star car of Eastern Germany. So you will find that there are museums here dedicated entirely to that car, to that era of cars. And there's even an iconic one just sitting up here on a currywurst shop. We just went into that little Trabant museum there. Super interesting stuff. So the Trabant was actually a very German car. It has nothing to do with Fiat or any other neighbor that I always assumed it was based on. It's a car that was made entirely here in the 30s. And the interesting part about that car is that the company that made that car is one of the Auto Union. The Auto Union had, I think, 4 car companies at the time, and only one of them remains today, which is Audi. The rest of them, because they were serving the communist regime at the time, which also fell, all of these brands just died down. But that car is so iconic. They apparently made 3.5 million units of the Trabant, and about 30,000 of them still seem to be running on the streets of Germany.
I still haven't found any of them on the streets yet. Navneet is looking for them every single second while he's walking around here.
My mother had got me a tiny little scale model of this, probably when I was 4 or 5 years old. I still have it, but I painted a lot of stupid things on it, turned it into a different color. I kind of feel bad because a new scale model here is so expensive. I think it's like 20 euros for a tiny little one. And then you flip it over, you read made in China.
Yep.
And it's so upsetting because, oh, come on, everything can't be from China and be priced $20, right?
Like yesterday, we were just doing the math of how much we have spent on souvenirs so far. It is averaging out to almost $1 a day. Like, we have never spent so much on souvenirs.
Yeah, there
like
is a pretty big markup here.
Yeah, a single magnet is like 5 euros, which costs nothing less than like 40 rupees.
Yeah, but if they're coming from China, we know it doesn't cost more than 50 cents. And the right price for it shouldn't be more than 1 or 2 euros. And we finally made it to Checkpoint Charlie.
So this is Checkpoint Charlie. This was one of the most popular checkpoints along the Berlin Wall. This was mainly used by the US Army men. And now I'm standing right here and you are allowed to come in.
So there's actually a board that says there that you're now leaving the American sector. And on the other side, it welcomes people in to the American sector. So this side of Berlin was the more developed, more free world at that time as they propagated the idea. So we've got something very interesting here. This is called
Currywurst.
It's a very typical German dish. This actually dates back to 1949 when it was first made.
It's ideally made with pork and beef, but we got the vegetarian version. And the most interesting thing for me, I think, is the smell. The powder which they, sprinkle on top. It's curry powder, and it smells so good.
We got the extra spicy version. I think it's part of the popular taste palette here. So I'm gonna give it a try. Is it good?
I just tasted the sauce and it's so good. He has sprinkled curry powder, he has given us spicy sauce and also ketchup. Wow. The patty looks like it's made of smashed potatoes and something. This is just too good.
So this was actually supposed to be a very common dish, like a dish that was easily accessible to everyone after the war, when Germany was still trying to rebuild itself. In 1949, somebody started selling this on the streets of West Germany, right here somewhere in this part of the city. And then it became like a national thing. And now wherever you go, German restaurants always attract people with a little taste of home, which is the currywurst. There you go, there is your building. Is that a snow machine? Yeah, look, it's a snow machine. Oh, that's the Berlin Tower.
We are here.
To come and build offices. And
Reichstag.
yeah, Reichstag.